Untangled, a game I have watched turn from a simple tech demo to a full-fledged game over the past 3 years, has just received an absolute overhaul of an update. It's basically a brand new game. First thing I noticed is this smooth as curse on. It just looks so funny to me, I don't know why. For starters, there's a tutorial now, which if you've been keeping up with my videos, you'll know I appreciate. It's split into 2 parts, movement and webs. In movement, there's a couple new abilities. Move your hands in a running motion to sprint. Oh yeah, just like in Stride. I can't recall if this super jump is one of them or not, but it's welcome nonetheless. The main event here though is the new wall running and walking. It more or less works the same as Project Demigod's version, but it's not a carbon copy. When you approach it slowly enough, Untangled wall running innovates by automatically sticking you to the wall perpendicular to a ledge. It's a little stressy at the moment, but it's great if you want to run down the side of a building. However, an issue arose going the opposite direction. When I tried running up a building, I didn't always have my view reset upon reaching the top. You can reset it manually by pressing in the right joystick, but I think the option to have it done automatically would be nice. After mastering movement, I proceeded to the webs tutorial, where I discovered changes that, to my surprise, enraged parts of the Untangled community. Hold grip to grab web, you can grab with either hand. Oh yeah, because that's what allows you to do the web zips. That's cool, I like that. I bet you couldn't even spot the change, but considering how the Untangled team had to patch back in the old swinging system as an option, it's no doubt a noticeable one. See, before this overhaul update, Untangled swinging was fairly simple. You can see here that webbing a wall gives you a little bit of momentum, as if the web was retracting itself. Then by flicking your wrist, you could perform a web zip, gaining even more. After the update though, this initial boost was removed, and web zips have been tied to an input, the grip button. Rather understandably, some have dubbed this whole conundrum a skill issue, a sentiment I don't necessarily disagree with. I do feel like in some ways people come to rely on the web zips to get around. That can be fun in its own right, but it's a swinging game, like you're trying to swing like Spider-Man, not zip like Spider-Man. To me, it's kind of funny that this is even an issue to begin with, because Untangled's newest addition to the swinging experience is arguably better than the old version ever was. Shoot a web, grab it, and hold the jump button. That is sick. Not only does this zip take you directly to the contact point of your web, it does it at damn near the speed of sound. If you use it the right way, you'll never need that smidgen of grapple momentum ever again. Hold the jump button and pull. Oh, that's so sick. Next, in midair, you can activate what's become a trendy Spider-Man VR game mechanic, web wings. Toggle them via the power wheel, stick out your arms in an A pose, and you're off to the races. I like that the web wings don't speed you up at all. They merely allow you to close bigger gaps that you mightn't be able to with webs alone. This keeps them from being a crutch. There we go. We got the web wings. You tilt your arms to do left and right, and then you tilt your wrist to do up and down. Absolutely perfect. Amazing implementation. I then glided over to the hub area, where I found copyright neutral Spider-Man 2099 waiting for me. I spoke to him, discovering he could grant me the power of super speed. Of course, it would come at a cost. The ever bloodthirsty Miguel instructed me to pile up 50 bodies in New Web City, and only then would he indulge me. After getting shown around and then promptly abandoned by another player, I jumped into the portal, on my way to discover this update's greatest, half-new feature, combat. That's so good, dude. But it wasn't just a standard punch-on. The Untangled team introduced something I didn't expect, but absolutely adored. It turns out these yellow icons that appear over enemies, which I initially mistook for critical hit spots, indicate you're within lunging distance of your opponent. Get close enough, punch the air, and you'll be flung towards them, connecting their face with your fist. For all my senior Spiderzens, that also means you'll no longer need to bend over to attack an enemy splayed on the floor. Spider-Man's next big villain might have been Arthritis, but no more. Now, I called combat half new to Untangled because the game has had the mechanic before, just not in this form. In previous versions, the system was mostly mindless enemies that you had to get within spitting distance of to get a lick in on. The developers weren't satisfied with this, so in a somewhat controversial decision, they removed combat and enemies entirely, planning to rebuild the mechanics from the ground up. In the interim, Batman Arkham Shadow came out, and thus the inspiration for the lunge feature. However, some criticised Arkham Shadow's combat as a whole, complaining that it held your hand too much. Developmental footage of Untangled from around this time seemed to imply that Combat 2.0 was headed in this sort of direction, but with its reintroduction in this new update, Shadow's influence appears to have waned. And you know what? I'm glad about that. Half of the Spider-Man fantasy for me is expressing yourself through the web-slinging skill set, something that would be a lot harder to do if your hand was constantly forced. I think adopting only the lunge was the right move. It makes for a nice middle ground between its sources and Demigod's polar opposite approaches to combat. Some might even call this middle ground the sweet spot, because it makes for some amazing possibilities. Okay, yeah, let's try and do the web zip to enemies, so... Oh yeah! Oh, that's so good. Okay, let's try it with his mate here. You might have noticed that zipping to enemies bounces you off of them, so you can actually chain multiple of these together. Web, jump, grip, yes! Oh, that's so cool! Oh, you can do the air combos too? You can do air combos. Problem is, I have no idea how to directly trigger them, if that's even possible, because uppercutting, which is the usual trigger in Spider-Man games, didn't appear to work. There was one thing I missed in this version of Spider-Man Combat, and you can probably guess what it is. Parryable attacks. With that said though, I'm not going to beg for this to be worked in, because I've noticed a trend with Spider-Man VR games recently. Everyone is introducing multiplayer. Of course, Untangled and the Spider Lair have had multiplayer for ages, but with Battleglide and Demigod both confirmed to have it in the works, it seems like the days of single-player Spider-Man VR games might be coming to an end. If that's true, slow-mo spider sense will likely become an ability of the past. It's incredibly difficult to effectively synchronize two different timescales in the same multiplayer instance. You can't have one person experiencing the world at 25% speed and the other at real time. That'd create temporal problems the likes of which Spider-Man once died trying to fix. But I'm okay with losing spider sense and parryable attacks if something else takes their places. Something like web-based gadgets or Battleglide's prop throwing, and I trust the Untangled team to come up with something awesome. Anyways, upon defeating my 50th foe, I returned to Miguel, who gave me what I fought for. The Go Fast device doesn't really sound like something Spider-Man would use, and that's because it isn't. Untangled is as much an invincible and speeds to VR game as it is that of Spider-Man, and trust me, it does just as well at replicating those abilities. Holy oh my god. That is crazy. That is so fast. Like Combat, these powers were once removed, but now they're back, revitalized and ready to discover. I'll leave that part up to you though. If you like Spider-Man VR games, you should subscribe. It's kind of my whole deal. Even the kookaburras are laughing at me. It's a warehouse full of goons. Yeah, I'm from the old guard where goon meant an enemy of a supervillain, not what it means now, which is something so disgusting I can't even say it on video. Okay, yes, you come here. Preferably not on your ass. Look at him doing a roly-poly down the friggin' stairs.